In Oyster Bay, Long Island, Mrs. Charles Elliott Warren had fired her cook. It was August 1906, and with several weeks left in the summer, she needed a cook. She could not manage without one, not with a household of 4 children and 5 servants to feed, not with a social calendar filled to the brim with dinner parties and Sunday teas. For a wealthy woman such as Mrs. Warren, it was a terrible fix. There were plenty of servants in America, roughly 2.3 million, but for women like her, a good servant was hard to find. Mrs. Warren needed a cook who wouldn't mind the lack of freedom and the 14-hour days. She needed someone available morning, noon, and night. Someone who wore a white servant's cap and apron, a plain dress, and thick-soled shoes. Someone who never left the house without permission. Some cooks shared rooms with other servants. Others made themselves comfortable sleeping in the attic or the cellar. A good servant wasn't uppity. She knew her place. If a servant was smarter than her employer, she never showed it. She was humble. She ate in the kitchen, using the plain crockery and ironware, not the good family china and silver. Even though her employer called her by her given name, Bridget or Sally or Peggy or Maggie, she said Mr. and Sir, and Miss or Mrs., and Ma'am. No matter her age, she was always a girl, and never a lady. A servant never used the front entrance of the house. She entered and left through the service entrance at the rear of the property or under the front stoop. If she happened to spy her employer outside the home, she averted her eyes and never acknowledged her. Good servants understood that all Americans were equal, regardless of class, but they also understood that employers were more equal than servants. A good servant didn't complain. She didn't demand a labor contract with clearly defined hours, duties, and wages. For many employers, a good servant meant a specific race, nationality, and religion. Some employers hired white help only. Some preferred black help only. Some hired Protestants only. Some hired Catholics. Some hired immigrants. Some would not. The duty of hiring servants fell to the lady of the house, and so Mrs. Warren did what most other New York City ladies did. She telephoned Mrs. Stricker's servants' agency on 28th Street in Manhattan and said, "Send me a cook." The agency director gave Mrs. Warren the name of a good, plain cook named Mary Mallon and praised her references, character, and abilities in the kitchen. No doubt Mrs. Warren was impressed. Mary had worked for some of the most prominent and socially elite families in New York City. Families whose names appeared alongside the Warrens in Who's Who and in the society pages of the New York Times, and for this she was well paid. As a cook, Mary earned $45 a month, roughly $1,180 today. This was much more than Mary would have earned cooking for a middle-class family. This wasn't unusual. The wealthier a family, the more they paid, as much as double the salary for the same worker in a middle-class home. It was a simple fact of life. Was Mary a perfect servant? No servant ever was. If she were, she would have been bolted firmly to someone else's kitchen long before she had a chance to cook for the Warrens. There is no record of the interview between Mrs. Warren and Mary Mallon. There likely was no interview. If Mrs. Warren didn't like a cook, she simply sent her back. When the agency sent Mary Mallon, she was 37 years old, unmarried, with no family or children, and in good health, never sick a day. She had good references that praised her. Sure, Mary never stayed longer than a year or 2 at one house. But this wasn't unusual for a servant. Sure, there were gaps in Mary's employment history, but this, too, wasn't unusual for domestic workers.